Hi, William Gilmore here for the ScreenwritersJourney.com, and this is ScriptTalk, our ongoing series of conversations with directors, writers, actors, producers. And today I have with me Mr. Larry Dean Harris, who is a screenwriter and playwright, and he is also the Los Angeles representative of the Dramatists Guild of America.
That's right.
All right, well, thanks for being here, Larry.
Good to be here. In my kitchen.
In your kitchen. So tell me, what exactly is the Dramatists Guild?
The Dramatists Guild is essentially the theatrical organization that provides a place for the 8,000 plus active playwrights, composers, and lyricists working in the theater all around the country.
And what do they offer here in the Los Angeles area?
Well, it's a really interesting thing. The Guild has, everybody thinks of theater, as being New York centric, and when in fact, there's vibrant theatrical events happening all around the country, especially in the development of new work. So what the Guild has done was taken an organization that originally started with the big boys on Broadway, and I do mean boys. It was mostly a boys club for a very long time, and they've really expanded throughout the country. So I'm one of 32 regional representatives. We've got folks in Portland, Oregon, in Seattle, Washington, in Chicago, in Atlanta, in Houston, and Northern Ohio, and Southern Ohio. Anywhere there's a few playwrights in a region, they're represented on a regional level. So it's kind of a powerful thing, and it's a very unifying force, because not everyone can get to New York and connect with the Guild. So we do that on a local level. I represent Southern California, so I do programming in San Diego, in Orange County, here in Los Angeles, and we just had our national conference in La Jolla this year, where over, I think, 800 folks came from around the country to be part, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Larry, what exactly is your role with the Guild? What do you do for them?
I do programming, so we'll have special events with, say, theater luminaries like Stephen Schwartz or Marcia Norman. We'll do educational programming, where we'll talk about how to produce your own play, or how to craft a book of a musical. I also, on a daily basis, answer questions that playwrights have. Where do I rent a theater to do a reading? I've got a legal issue, what do I do? And I steer them in different directions. So that's a big part of what I do.
So if one was interested, how would one become a member of the Guild?
You essentially have to have had some sort of public presentation of your work. Either a reading, a production, perhaps your play was published. Anything like that basically qualifies you, and then you pay an annual membership fee of $130 to join. It's a very easy sell for me in terms of whenever folks are approaching a production of some sort where they're negotiating and dealing with contracts. We have an amazing business affairs department, and there are 3 lawyers who all they do, and they do it very well, is review contracts, theatrical law. That is they're in their element there, and so they can advise you on contracts and basically give you a wealth of knowledge before you go pen to paper to sign anything, and hopefully prevent you from getting in a lot of trouble.
So now let's talk about you for a little bit, Larry. Now your background is as a writer, and you make your living by writing, is that correct?
Yes, in a roundabout way. I don't make my living in the theater. Not many people do, which is sad and interesting. But I use a lot of my theatrical skills in the business world. I write scripts for Ripley's Believe It or Not museums, and a lot of live theatrical events that are performed for marketing or advertising or promotional purposes. So it's an interesting blend of my business background and my creative abilities. So I have my feet in both areas.
So for our writers out there who are wanting to break into the business, there is a way to make money still doing your writing, maybe not necessarily writing scripts for movies or plays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I create great characters that live on forever, that sometimes do 20, 50 performances a day. They're usually robots, but it's fun. They're voiced by real actors, and all around the country my work is on display and being performed, which is kind of crazy. You can go to the Statue of Liberty, and there's an animatronic robot there who is telling the story of how the Statue of Liberty came to be, and I put the words in his mouth. I wrote that script.
I believe I've seen that.
You have?
I have.
I wrote that.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you have a preference in your writing? Are you more of a playwright or a screenwriter?
The great thing about writing plays, and this is a big part of what the Dramatists Guild is all about, is you maintain creative control over your work. So a lot of screenwriters get very frustrated because they'll be by the time if it ever makes it to celluloid, it's so far removed from what they originally wrote. And the Guild, and this separates us from, say, the Writers Guild, we maintain creative control over our work. No one can change a word without our blessing. And that's the trade-off. You get the big paycheck in Hollywood, but you get the creative satisfaction in the theater. And that's an ongoing battle that we still, face. And a big part of it is education. The Guild is out there letting people know that you can't change a play. You can't, cut, copy, and paste a play. That's not allowed. We give up a lot of things to maintain that, control over our work.
Well, I think it's the issue with Words Players in Minnesota. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that was our Minnesota regional representative who took them to task, because they actually came out and said, the director has every right to completely, mutilate your script, and yeah, that's not over yet, I don't think. And we have that. It happens to the big guns too. Doug Wright, who is the president of our council, he won the Pulitzer Prize for I Am My Own Wife, and wrote Quills, and wrote the book for several musicals. He just had an incident where a major theater in Houston, Texas, took his musical Hands on a Hard Body and redid it, and then had the nerve to invite one of the creators, Amanda Green, who was the daughter of Adolph Green, who was the lyricist on some fairly big musicals, and there's poor Amanda sitting there watching her show being cut, copied, and pasted on stage, and they had to close the production down, which the last thing anybody wants to do. So it's just really important to make that known. You can't touch a play. You can't edit it for time. You can't, it's just not allowed.
So what opportunities are there in the Los Angeles areas for writers to hone their craft?
Well, the great thing about this town is you just have this incredible wealth of talent. I mean, there are actors who are dying to get their hands on really good work, whether it's helping develop it, in readings, or to do workshop productions. There's just a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of development organizations that we didn't have as many of when I first moved here 10 years ago. They're really blossoming. There's all kinds of reading programs and writers groups, and it's just a great opportunity to develop your work. I think we have that. Let me start that over again. There's great opportunities to develop your work. we have the talent, we have the resources, and we have communities. You and I have been involved with a community, a development community that worked screenwriting and playwriting together very successfully, and that's what drew me to LA in the first place.
So what advice would you give up-and-coming writers who are here in the Los Angeles area who are looking to break into the industry?
I would say find your community. Find other artists like you. Find writers. Find talented actors who aren't crazy, who you can trust with your work. I mean, you and I both know we have our go-tos. We have people that we can hand a script to and know that they're going to do an amazing interpretation that's on par with what, you know, the direction we want it. That would be my first thing. Find a home, find your community. And the second thing, and this blows my mind, it takes a long time. It takes a really long time. So I guess I would say don't be in a hurry. John Logan, who wrote Gladiator and all these amazing screenplays, he was a librarian for many, many years while he was honing his craft. He was a patient man. Now he's super successful and everybody just thinks that happened overnight. But I was really surprised to hear him speak at a Dramatists Guild event about how long he ate tuna fish and ramen noodles. I mean, many, many, many years. And all he did while all his friends were out having fun was staying home and write. And I guess that would be my final thing, is just keep writing and enjoy the writing. If your play never makes it on stage, if your screenplay never gets filmed, it should still be an enjoyable process, just you and your computer and your story.
Thank you so much, Larry, for being here. We really do appreciate you taking your time to talk with us. And until next time, I am William Gilmore for the ScreenwritersJourney.com, and remember, as always, keep writing.